Hey everyone, everything happens for a reason, and today we're going to be talking about why it is important to remember this. First, let me give a shout out to my very much appreciated Patreon members. Thank you guys so much for your support over there on Patreon, and if you want to get to know me on a deeper level, definitely think about joining my Patreon. I remembered something that happened in my past, and it made me want to talk about how everything happens for a reason. Sometimes when we're going through difficulties in life, we don't understand why we're going through them, or we feel bad for ourselves, or we just kind of want a way out of that difficulty. But I think with life, and from my experience, there are mountains and valleys that we experience in life, meaning that there are high points where we're happy and on top of the world, and then there are points where we feel kind of down in the dumps and not our true selves, and when we're not at our full happiness. So I think the valleys are sometimes the most important parts of our lives, and they kind of build us and shape us into the adults that we grow to become. So sometimes I wonder if I'm on the right path in life. And I don't like to get caught up in this mindset a lot, but I can't help myself but wonder if I've made the right decisions thus far in my life. I've made many life-changing decisions, probably a lot more than peers my age have made. And I think a lot of those decisions were made out of a time of difficulty and a time of scarcity when I felt like I needed to sacrifice something for the greater good, whether it be my social life or my dignity or my privacy. Those are just a few examples of things that I've had to sacrifice to get to the next level in life. But I think with anything and with any accomplishment, there's always sacrifices that have to be made along the way in order to accomplish anything. Some of these decisions I've gone on to regret, and some others I'm happy with. And I appreciate how they turned out and transpired. Sometimes I don't even understand why I made a certain decision, but I tend to just go with my gut in those times and go with what feels right. But let me quit beating around the bush and hop right into this video. I'm going to be sharing an experience that happened to me during my senior year of high school. And it did cause a lot of introspection in my life, meaning that after this happened, it made me look within and try to discover what was wrong with me or what held me back from accomplishing this goal. So let me tell you guys what happened. So at one point in my senior year of high school, I thought that serving in the military would be right for me. And I say at one point, but in reality, my entire childhood, I've always wanted to follow in my grandfather's footsteps and serve in the military. Now, my grandfather was in the Army, and I never got a chance to meet him or learn much about him because it just seems like there's a lot of secrecy surrounding him. And I could make a whole nother video about my grandfather. He's very mysterious, and as I'm growing older, I'm starting to learn more about him. I learned a ton about him when I was in Maryland for my dad's wedding from my dad's sisters. But for some reason, my dad just does not tell me nearly anything about my grandfather. So I've always had this curiosity about him. I've always wanted to learn more about him and sort of mold myself after him because, of course, without him, I wouldn't be here right now. So I wanted to join the military. Initially, I wanted to join the Air Force because I love aviation and I thought it would be cool to be like a fighter pilot or even like a C-5 pilot, which is a huge cargo plane. I just wanted to fly in the military. I didn't even care what branch it was for. I just thought, why not join and pay my way through college and make connections and also toughen me up a little bit. That's a big aspect of why I decided to talk to a recruiter, is because I've always been super sensitive, always. And in some ways, it's hurt me, and in some ways, it's benefited me. But overall, I've just wanted to toughen myself up and kind of man up because I never joined the football team. I never had that sort of fraternal community where I could just be like with the boys. And I was always craving that. Up until I got to the adult entertainment industry, I was always craving this sense of like brotherhood because I just never experienced it. I also never saw my dad experience that or anyone else that was in my life for that matter, so it was something that I craved. So one day after high school, I decided to go speak to a recruiter, and I was very nervous to speak to a recruiter. I didn't know what to expect. I was doing tons of research online and trying to figure out what to expect, but I just kind of went into it without any expectations. I just wanted to get some information and a better understanding of what serving in the military after high school would be like. Before I did this, I made sure that I put on kind of a tough front, still friendly, but, turned my straight guy self on. So I didn't want them to think that I was gay. And I know that it's not against the rules to be gay in the military, but I just wanted to increase my chances of getting accepted, if you will. So I was 100% truthful. When I finally sat down with the recruiter, it was a Marines recruiter, actually, that I made the appointment with. So I was sitting down with the recruiter and just talking about my life, talking about my childhood and different things that I went through and different things I did throughout high school, good and bad. But I was really careful not to be untruthful and not to lie. I've never been the type of person that lies just like through their teeth or for no reason, so that wasn't really hard for me. The hardest part for me was just being open about an experience I had when I was 14. So if you guys don't know, I got into trouble with the law when I was 14 years old, and I had to go through this probation program, and I even served a little bit of time in juvie, but overall, I was just running with the wrong crowd, and that needed to happen when it happened, because if that didn't happen, I would have never got into college. I would never be sitting here. I would have never started taking my classes seriously in high school and taking honors classes. So that's another way of explaining how everything happens for a reason, because it was so tough going through that phase in my life. But once I finally got through it, yeah, people in my hometown looked at me differently, but eventually I didn't stay there, so it didn't even matter. So when I opened up to the recruiter about my past run-in with the law, I was almost immediately turned away, and his entire attitude changed towards me. He was just cold now. He wasn't really as talkative as he was before. He was kind of trying to like shoo me away and just kind of close the book on me. He did let me know that there was a certain waiver that I could get signed if I really wanted to try and see, but there was no promises. So I just started losing hope and losing confidence in this entire situation. I just started to feel like this isn't right for me. So I asked the Marine recruiter if there were any other branches that would be more open to taking me, and he mentioned that I should try to speak to the Army recruiter and the Navy recruiter. He said the Air Force recruiter wouldn't even make time for me because of my past with the law. And after hearing that, it made me sad, but I tried my best to keep my composure. So after he told me to try to speak to the Army and Navy recruiters, who were all there, by the way. They weren't busy. There wasn't like a bunch of people in there. It was just the recruiters in there kind of dilly-dallying and hanging around. I think there was even music playing, and they were just kind of chilling and shooting the shoot. So he left the room, and he told me that he was going to go get the Navy and the Army recruiters. And then about 5 minutes later, and mind you guys, I'm sitting in there with my mom. I dragged my mom to this because I was still underage at that time, and also, I don't know, maybe that was something that turned them away. As I was sitting in the room waiting for him to come back, it was about 5 or 10 minutes went by, and I was just starting to feel off. I was starting to feel unwanted and almost like a laughingstock, because there was a window and I could just see the recruiters walking by and like staring at me and like talking amongst themselves, and it just made me feel uneasy. But he came back in about 10 minutes later and told me that both of the recruiters were busy, and I saw the recruiters walking by the window multiple times. It just didn't really feel like they were busy. It felt like that was a cop-out and just a way of telling me that the military is not interested in me. Long story short, I got rejected by the military, basically all branches of the military. And I'm sure if I really, really wanted to, I could have gotten into the Army or the Navy or even the Marines if I signed that waiver. But something in me just lost interest entirely. So after I got rejected and I was driving home with my mom, yeah, I was a little sad. Of course I was. I mean, it was basically learning that I would not become a soldier, that I didn't have what it takes to become a soldier, or that I was an F-up. So I was sad for a little while, and this lasted for probably a month or two until I got accepted into Arizona State University. And at that moment, that's when I realized that everything happens for a reason. Because my dad told me that he was going to do whatever it took to support me throughout my college career, even though that didn't happen. He didn't hold up his end of the bargain. But everything happens for a reason. Even the fact that he kind of abandoned me when I was in college after coming out to him, everything happens for a reason. And instead of holding resentment, I tend to explore things and look in deeper and see the true meaning of why certain things are happening and how I could have prevented certain things from happening, or what certain things could lead to if I didn't leave them, if that makes sense. The truth is, I was meant for a different path. I was. And I still have thoughts sometimes of wanting to go speak to a recruiter or just wanting to see how far I could get. But then I realized that that's not what I'm cut out for. There are so many different jobs for us, so many different purposes for us in this world. Some guys are born to serve, born to be tough, born to be a soldier and protect. Some guys are born to spread light and positivity and uplift others. Some guys are born to be, there's so many different possibilities, but I'm just not meant to be a soldier, and I understand that now. And part of understanding that helped me to become more comfortable with being such a sensitive guy. And I will say that when I finally entered the adult entertainment industry, I stopped being so sensitive, like so hypersensitive, and started to become more confident in my abilities and my appearance and like what I bring to the table. So I don't know if the military would have taught me that. I think the purpose of the military is to, in a way, break you down and then build you back up into a soldier. And soldiers aren't typically the types of people that show a ton of emotion. So I thought that joining the military would change me into a soldier. And I thought that would be the right path for me, and that's what I was needing in my life. But I realize now that I'm here to help people. And whether I am on top of the world or in that valley, I'm supposed to help people, and I'm supposed to uplift people and show people their true purpose and their true potential in this world. So I'm content with that purpose, and I hope you guys have found your purpose or are currently searching for it, because we all have a purpose, and everything happens for a purpose. Don't forget it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
So high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you.